Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we are unpacking a truly fascinating case study of fate, resilience, and a relentless physical and emotional storm that changed one man's life forever. This is a brilliant narrative that examines exactly what happens when extreme hardship meets unwavering human empathy. We're going to break down the timeline, the psychological environment, and an absolutely incredible twist of fate that completely flips the script for a destitute laborer named dheeru. It's a wildly compelling story, so let's just jump right in. Okay, so let's dive into this. The roof leaked, the money tore, all our hard work washed away. That quote right there perfectly encapsulates the sheer despair of our subjects, dheeru and his wife Kadri. Right from the start, they are trapped in just absolute extreme poverty. Picture this, they're sitting on the threshold of their home, just waiting for this massive rainstorm to stop so dheeru can finally go to work. But the rain, it's unyielding. Their vegetables are spoiling, the walls are soaking wet, and the very roof over their heads is literally failing them. It's a stark, almost painful illustration of how environmental forces can completely paralyze people who are already living on the absolute margins.
Part 1. Rain and dheeru's helplessness.
Now, tracking the timeline, you can see just how rapidly the stakes escalate here. Day 1, dheeru is entirely trapped at home, and obviously no work means no money for food. By day 2, the desperation hits a total boiling point. Dheeru is forced to brave the torrential storm and go seek work from the local landowner, Thakur. And then we hit day 3. Honestly, this is the true gut punch. Dheeru actually manages to bring home his hard-earned daily wages, but because he was completely soaked from the storm, the money was wet. Kadri sets it out to dry, right? But the leaking roof drips directly onto the cash overnight, destroying the very paper it's printed on. All that suffering in the rain literally washed away in an instant. Just brutal.
So, the crucial point is that while the physical toll is awful, the psychological toll is made 10 times worse by his community. They label him menhus. It basically translates to a jinx or a bad omen. This is a cruel, cruel label the entire village has slapped onto dheeru. And why? Simply because he's an orphan. He has no family, no relatives, absolutely no safety net. So instead of offering compassion to a man with literally nothing, the villagers use his isolation as a weapon. They're constantly mocking him, telling him that his lack of family proves he's somehow cursed.
Part 2. Tucker's cruel behavior. And this brilliantly illustrates the crazy duality of the situation. On one hand, you have the village, led by this ruthless guy, Thakur Durjan Pratap, constantly mocking and alienating dheeru. But despite all that toxicity, dheeru doesn't become bitter. Actually, on his way home one evening, he spots a couple, Raman and Janki, stranded under a tree in the storm, have nowhere to go. And without even a moment's hesitation, dheeru offers them shelter in his own home. He has nothing, yet he offers everything. It's pretty amazing.
Part 3. Stranger guests and the mishap.
So, inside dheeru's home, this beautiful transformation happens. Kadri is actually thrilled to have guests. She literally says, guests are a form of God, and she uses what little they have left to cook a delicious feast. For the very first time, dheeru and Kadri get to experience the warmth of a real family. They stay up late chatting, forming this instant bond. And the next morning, Raman even insists on going to work with dheeru just to help him out. It's this incredibly heartwarming moment of connection, right in the middle of a literal and metaphorical storm.
Well, reality sets back in pretty quickly. That late night, combined with days of working in the freezing rain, takes a heavy physical toll on dheeru. And this leads to a devastating turning point. First, dheeru comes down with a really severe fever. Then, despite being super sick, he forces himself to work anyway. But his extreme weakness causes him to lose his grip, and he drops a precious sack of grain straight into the floodwaters, ruining it completely. Finally, the villagers, who, let's be honest, have just been waiting for an excuse to ruin him, angrily drag him straight to Thakur.
Now, what's really interesting and frankly infuriating about this part of the story is where the cruelty hits its absolute peak. Thakur doesn't just demand that dheeru pay for the one ruined sack. No, he demands a 3x penalty. 3 sacks of grain to replace the single one that was accidentally dropped. It is just a stunning display of injustice and exploitation. Thakur kicks him out and tells him not to come back until he has the money to pay this totally impossible debt. Which leaves us with this massive, suspenseful question. Will dheeru be able to pay Thakur's massive debt? Think about it. We already established his money was destroyed by the leaking roof. He is completely destitute, he's just been fired. How on earth can a man with 0 resources survive a penalty that is triple the cost of his actual mistake? The situation seems completely, utterly hopeless.
Part 4. Truth and family reunion.
Okay, so remember Raman and Janki? Well, it turns out Raman has been hiding his true identity this whole time. He actually possesses vast wealth. We're talking money, business, land. He's a highly successful city merchant. But relationally, he was totally bankrupt. He hid his identity because he had no true relationships, and he was terrified people would only use him for his money. He really wanted to see if anyone out there would show him kindness just for being a human being. And dheeru? Dheeru passed that test with flying colors.
So the rescue here is just incredibly satisfying. Raman steps in with a large amount of cash. He empowers dheeru to march right back up to Thakur, throw the money right in the cruel landlord's face, and walk away from that toxic workplace forever. But Raman doesn't stop there. He recognizes dheeru's incredible character and actually offers him a business partnership in the city.
Let's see how this builds, because just when you think the story is wrapped up with a nice little bow, we get the ultimate twist. As they prepare to leave for the city, Kadri gifts dheeru a brand new kurta to wear. And as dheeru is changing, Raman notices something. There's a distinct birthmark on dheeru's neck. And get this, it perfectly matches a birthmark on Raman's own neck. Raman realizes that dheeru is actually his long-lost brother, the one who disappeared when they were just kids. No way, right?
It is just an absolute incredible transformation. We started with a lonely, poor orphan, mocked as a jinx, crying in the freezing rain. And now, we end with a wealthy businessman, emotionally and financially secure, reunited with his lost brother. The villagers who once mocked dheeru, now they respect him, and he ends up becoming even wealthier than the cruel Thakur. Dheeru's unconditional empathy quite literally transformed his entire reality.
Which leaves us with this final, powerful question to reflect on. Does unconditional empathy always find a way to reward us when we least expect it? Dheeru gave shelter to strangers when he had absolutely nothing to give, and it brought him the family and the fortune he had always dreamed of. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this story leaves you inspired, and I will see you next time.